on the hill. We really do need to get some slalom training in for these kids. And I know the parents want to have a cookout between 1 and 1:30, so I'd really like to get some good training in. And coaches, for you too, if you have questions, I think the best thing for us is once we go back out onto the hill, ski over to Alex and ask her. So it's one-on-one and we can really get things going. Everybody good? Alex Krebbs.
Thanks, Dwayne. My name is Alex Krebbs, and I am the Eastern Youth Competition and Development Manager. So what that means is I put together J3 and J4 projects for the Eastern region. I oversee all of the championship events for those age groups. So for J4s, it would be your championships and the Can-Am. For J3s, it would be finals, championships, AmCan, and the Park City project. And then a big part of my job is coming and doing program visits and working with the athletes and then doing interactive presentations with the coaches and the parents. So I'm really psyched to be here. I've come here for the past 3 years, and I put it on my schedule every year because I love the area. I love, Dwayne and his coaches work so hard, and they're on the right track, and it's a really fun place for me to come and visit. And so I'm excited to work with the athletes today. And I know some of them from projects, but I'll get to know more of them today. So the past 2 years when I've come, I've talked about the importance of fundamentals and the USSA philosophy. And I think this year because there are so many questions and there are some really big changes going on at USSA, that I thought that I would just focus on that and really make this very interactive. I mean, this is your time to ask me any sorts of questions. I know that there are lots of misconceptions out there. There are lots of rumors. So ask me now and see if I can answer it, and we can go from there. So basically what happened was the FIS, which is the International Ski Federation, they decided that 15-year-olds would no longer be able to ski FIS races. So you have to be 16 to race FIS. So they decided this for a couple of reasons. In Europe, the way the schooling is set up, so that was one of the reasons. Another reason was to possibly try to prevent some of these injuries by making the athletes a year older. Maybe we might alleviate some of the injuries that are going on, and also to give them another year physically and biologically to mature before they were thrown into these races. For the boys, they're racing with the men, and for the girls, they're racing with women. So really to give them another year of maturity. So what that meant for USSA is that we are now going to a system of U. So instead of J, it's U. And the U stands for under. So we will now be U18, U16, U14, U12, U10. So next year, under 16, U16s, those will be our 15 and 14-year-olds. These age categories will be 2-year age categories. So just like your J3s and J4s now, that they have 2 years in the category, that will remain the same. It's just that this next year, when we're going into the change, it happens that everyone will stay in their group, so they will have technically 3 years in the age group. But the following year, moving forward, it'll be back to the same 2-year age grouping. We just recently, the Children's Committee made a decision that U16s will be allowed to race for points next year, throughout the year. So, the important part about that is that it is really going to come down now to racer management. The U16s will also, they'll have, I think, and this is something that each state region is going to have to try to work out on its own, and I don't know how Tri-State is reorganizing their system, but I imagine that the U16s still have to have that head-to-head competition, because points will not be used for any of the selections to any of my Eastern Region projects. So, for instance, the Eastern Regional Series, the championship events, you won't be seeded by points. So they'll still have to have some sort of head-to-head competition in order to come up with a ranking system. So in saying that, yes, you're allowed to go race for points, but this is really where the athlete management is really going to come into play. I mean, when you look at the ATS, the Alpine Training System, and you look at the matrix, and you look at the train-to-race ratio, it's, actually I have it right here, for the U16s, it's 5-to-1. So for every 5 days of training, one race. So yes, you're allowed to go out and race in USSA races, but the point is not to go and just chase all sorts of points. We really want the athletes to be managed and to be, sitting down with their coach or their program director ahead of time and picking out a schedule of what works for them. Okay, you're going to have these head-to-head races, and then, let's put you in 1 or 2, maybe 3 USSA races where we feel it fits in. But the idea is not to go chase USSA points. That's time, that's money, that's time away from school, it's time away from training. And training is really, that's the most important part. So it really is going to come down to race management. So that's basically the big change that's going on. I want to open it up now for questions. I know there are questions out there.
Alex, where would the under U10 and the U10, is there any provision for developmentally?
Well, so he, in case you didn't hear, he asked, you've got U10, what about, 9 and the 9-year-olds under? I believe that's I've heard that USSA may come out with a U8, but I don't know that for sure. And I think that's probably going to be a state-to-state decision. Say I know in Vermont, some regions in Vermont, some councils, they recognize J6s and others don't. So I think that's probably going to remain the same as to what region you're in the East. I know that in our philosophy, Eastern Region philosophy, is that for that age group that they not race at all. No USSA races, that they concentrate on skiing and having fun and doing club races like the one that you guys had yesterday. I heard lots of good stories about that. I heard that it was a lot of fun, and doing dual races and combis and obstacle courses and that sort of thing for that age group. Yes.
Okay, so let me see if I understand. So J4 is going away, right?
Right.
So that terminology will be gone. So if you are a J3, you're 12 years old, or J4, you're 12 years old.
Yep.
Are you saying you're going to be U14 next year?
Yes.
Or are you, okay.
Yep. So if you're...
So you're staying on that year as, so everybody right now would stay J3, J4, one more year, they won't move up.
Right. Right. So if you are a second year J4, if you're 12 years old, next year you will be a U14. Did I say that right? 13. Oh my God. If you're a second year J4, next year you're going to be at U14.
So you won't be 14 if you're 14, you'll be under 14.
Under 14.
12 and 14.
Exactly. Yep. So same cutoff, same age, same date cutoff. Rick, did you have a question? Okay. Yes, you heard correctly that the Children's Committee did vote the other day to eliminate the Eastern Regional Series. I'm just not sure if that vote has to pass by the ACC yet or not. So I didn't want to announce it, but yes, probably the ERS will not be next year.
Competition opportunity for the U16 group, like maybe drop in. We're not trying to see how we're going to do that. Any insight into how to pronounce it?
Right. Okay. So Vermont has decided that with their U16s, they are going to stay with their councils. They are going to continue having their council races, and but Okay, so in northern Vermont, I think they have like 4 or 5 council races. In mid-Vermont, they had 7. So mid-Vermont is going to cut down their number to about 4 or 5 so that they'll be able to add some USSA point opportunities.
Are you going to separate the U16s from the U14s and 12s, or are you going to run with them all together?
No, in Vermont, U16s are still their own grouping.
So JVs are going to see them only are they mixed with J3? Are there events, are there normal council events J3, J4?
J3 only.
It's not much of a change in that.
It's not really a change for them. In Maine, though, for example, because of their numbers, their U16s are going to run with their U18s. So, you know, the message that, oh, sorry, yes, Scott.
With the U16s in Vermont, you know, they're going to have other council racers there, or is it still?
You mean like could a tri-state come up and race? I don't know the answer to that. I know that within Vermont they allow, because I think you have to be, you know, I know you have to be a VARA member.
Right.
So I'm not sure. I don't know how they work that out. But I think the biggest thing for me to get across to the athletes and to the parents is that just because we have the opportunity to go out and chase USSA points, it really is so important that we think about the athlete management. I mean, if you go around and chase USSA points, you're, you know, like I said before, you're taking time away from training. You know, you're not as well rested, and you know, if you go and enter a race and you do poorly, really, what is that just accomplished? You know, that you should be entering races that you are ready physically, mentally, all of it, to go and race in. And that number, you know, is something that you need to come up with your program, with your coach, and decide so that you have a well thought out plan, so that you're not just scrambling and going and racing in points. And, you know, the other thing about points is that I think a lot of people forget it takes 2 races to get a point profile. 2 races, that's it. 2 slalom, 2 GS, and you've got your point profile. So athlete management is now going to be a huge, huge thing for these U16 racers. Any other questions? Well, I'm here for a while, so if you think of something, please grab me and ask me, and thanks a lot, you guys.